Greetings to you all fellow travelers. This is Grotnip, welcoming you all back to the logbook of a simple Lindworm traveler. In this special hot out of the print Word from the North episode, I'm going to be giving my first impressions on the Feudom Guisarmiers unit. Sorry for the terrible pronunciation, I am working with what CV gave in their video and that's pretty much it. When I started this channel, I was very adamant on not doing hot takes videos, but here we are. A friend of mine is interested in maybe starting Warcrow with the Feudom, and there are other people also out there who seem to be starting to get interested on this stuff. So hey, why not jump in and give a first few ideas on what we are dealing with over here. I'm trying to keep this video extremely short, so let's go. The unit card presented here on the left has been lifted from the Corvuspelli YouTube video, so if there are any changes incoming from the video preview to the actual card, then so be it. This isn't an analysis video per se after all. At face value, the Feudom Guisarmiers seem like a pretty box standard basic infantry unit. At 20 points per unit and availability 3, you can field a large number of these units in your list should you choose to do so to bulk out the numbers, and with the excellent stats and special rules that we have available here, I could easily see myself running several units in my company should I choose to play Feudom someday. At 3-2 movement and a 9-stride charge, the Guisarmiers are, without a shadow of doubt, a slow unit. They will struggle to position themselves on the battlefield in a activation efficient manner, and they will get outcharged by most of the even basic infantry units out there. But they have one thing going for them when it comes to maneuverability, and that is their preferred terrain rugged keyword. For those new to the Warcrow game, rugged in Warcrow is effectively what difficult terrain is in most other games. So with these warriors' ability to ignore the slowing effect of rugged terrain, they are actually quite dangerous in and around broken ground. One of the attributes of rugged terrain in Warcrow is that it stops units from charging if any part of their charge movement would place them in contact with rugged terrain. But the Guisarmiers ignore this effect thanks to their preferred terrain rule, which means that if the Feudom player can position these soldiers in or around rugged terrain, then the one-eyed becomes the king of the island of the blind, and then actually their 9-stride charge range can be used to bully units looking to close in on them. Beyond this preferred terrain, the unit does not have any meaningful keywords. Human and infantry are simply keywords that are used when it comes to determining which characters can join the unit and if any passive or active effects can indeed have an effect on them. With 4 models in the unit and 2 wounds per model, we are dealing with a really basic infantry stat line over here. While there is no denying that the Guisarmiers suffer from low willpower and morale scores, that's something to be expected out of a 20-point basic infantry unit. In most cases, it's to be expected that these soldiers are going to be led by some type of character when they take to the field of battle, and usually such characters improve the willpower and or morale stats of the units that they join, which gives more psychological performance potential for our Guisarmiers. In actuality, this unit is pretty decent at facing frightening enemies thanks to how their Guisarms to ground ability works. While this passive skill is mostly meant to be a way for the Guisarmiers to hold their ground, whether that be defending an objective or holding a choke point on the field, even against enemies that beat them in battle or in combat and try to push the unit back. But the way that this ability works around passing a willpower roll means that should the Guisarmiers be engaged by an enemy unit that inflicts the frightened state upon the warriors of Feudom by, let's say, a ability or a switch, then the frightened state will be triggered upon the Guisarmiers attempting to pass their test to not get pushed back, which will mean that even if the unit gets overstressed while fighting, they will not have to re-roll any of their successful dice on their willpower roll to pass the test to see whether they flee the field of battle, so that's pretty cool. Speaking of cool, check out the Guisarmiers' scenario play potential, that is, their ability to take and hold objectives on the field. At face value, the Guisarmiers seem like an excellent scenario play unit thanks to their naturally high conquest value of 2. Although one has to remember that in this case they do suffer a reduction to their conquest value after half casualties, so Feudom players should be eager to keep their unit at full strength or nearly at full strength at least. This naturally high conquest value is further reinforced by their emboldened by the nobility ability, which is a passive skill that grants the unit an additional point of conquest if a unit with the noble keyword is within 7 strides of the Guisarmiers, and wait, there's more. If you attach a character that also provides additional conquest modifier to the unit, we are looking at a unit with maybe 4, potentially even 5 conquest, and that's really something. As a Northern Tribes player, if I want to access 4 conquest in my list, I need to deck out 2 orc hunter units with officers or support characters attached, or I need to shell out a large investment of points in an elite infantry unit and a elite officer accompanying them. So the Guisarmiers should offer the Feudom players a cost-effective way of securing and taking objectives. This ability is further reinforced by their Guisarms to ground, which allows the unit on a successful willpower test to stop itself from being pushed away from objectives, even if they lose a fight over one. And then again, as befits a 20-point unit, this is not the immovable keyword, so other types of movement effects can still shift the Guisarmiers from the objective that they are working to capture or defend. When it comes to raw offensive and defensive output, the Guisarmiers are very much out there somewhere in the cross country between the orc hunters and the hegemony bucklermen. At 2 red and 2 yellow, their basic attack should provide you with on average 3 successes, and they have a high ceiling of 5, and when the unit suffers half or more casualties, their performance will be somewhat diminished. On the defense, the Guisarmiers at full strength are averaging 2 blocks, and they have a medium ceiling of 3, and they lose one of those average and maximum blocks when below half strength. The important thing for me to note here is the fact that at full strength the unit has an automatic block baked in, and if and when you attach a character that maybe adds another, then you are looking at a basic infantry unit that's very resistant to chip damage that's based on successes. So enemies looking to inflict 1 wound there, a 2nd wound here by using success-based damage will struggle against the Guisarmiers. Then again, this automatic block symbol is totally useless against automatic wound infliction, so those types of attacks will bypass this good defense. The last thing of note on the Guisarmiers is their extremely reliable switch ability that they can access both on the offensive and on the defensive. I've calculated the relevant probabilities of triggering this switch, and as you can see, the worst odds are when defending, and even there it's a 75% chance of triggering the switch ability. This particular switch inflicts the disarmed state upon the enemy, reducing future damage that they can inflict by removing a die with at least one success on it from their next attack roll, as well as stopping the enemy unit from accessing their offensive modifiers for as long as this state is upon them. This means that Guisarmiers are a nasty unit to get tangled up in melee with, since anyone attacking them or being attacked by the Guisarmiers will usually end up suffering from disarmed and hence have their future attacks reduced in power. Guisarms to ground also means that it's hard for enemies to disengage from Guisarmiers by pushing them back even after a victorious round of combat against these very strong basic warriors. So an enemy unit might come charging in hoping to push away the Guisarmiers only to get tangled up with the unit and then getting countercharged by something, maybe a cavalry unit in the future from the Feudom side. So an excellent unit in this regards also. Alright, that's more or less my first thoughts on the Feudom Guisarmiers. This seems to be like an interesting and flavorful basic infantry unit, and I'm really eager to see how it slots into the larger ecosystem of a Feudom company. Thanks for joining me, fellow travelers. Hope to see you again soon.